Good evening, everyone. Has the Lord been good to you so far? I want to thank y'all. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share what God has done in my life for the past 11 and a half years in my life. So here's a little background about me. Almost 18 years ago, I was born on a remote farm somewhere in southern China. My birth parents weren't that rich, and they couldn't afford my surgeries in the hospital. The day I was born, they didn't want to leave me behind, but they loved me so much. That was the only thing they could do. So they just left me on the side of the pedestrian bridge next to the municipal hospital where I was born. A few hours later, a stranger took me in the hospital and gave me to the doctors, but no one was there to feed me, so the doctors just let me outside a room on a gurney in the hallway to just die. But then the woman who came, would become my foster mother, the woman who would become my foster mother passed by. When she saw me, God was tugging at her heart. She went back to her church, and for 4 months, a couple of her friends visited the hospital and fed me in the hallway because the doctors wouldn't give me a room. And then the Future Hope Ministries heard about me and asked my foster mother to take me in as her own. And she was my saving angel, the Good Samaritan in my life. And when I was 6 months old, I finally had my first life-saving surgery in Hong Kong. After my foster mother took me in to live with her, she took me to church every Sunday, which is unusual because, as you all know, Christianity is not a big thing there in China. When I turned about 4, 5, or 6, I started having questions about what I heard in church. I didn't understand anything that was being said there. In the latter half of 2011, I found out I was going to get adopted. Realized that meant I would leave the only mother that I knew to have taken care of me for 6 years, and that I was going to leave my home country, the only place I knew. So I was really nervous, and I didn't like that idea. I didn't want to leave China. I was really scared. So I tried to get out of it. So on the day before my adoption, I physically started running throughout the whole entire hotel, trying to get away. And I was acting really loud, energetic, rowdy. And my dad chased me around for half an hour while I was getting my workout in. Eventually, I ran out of energy, and the next day, I was adopted. But I wasn't doing so well the days after my adoption. It finally hit me 2 days after my adoption that I was not coming back to China, that I was going to be in the United States for the rest of my life. I started crying, and I grieved for the life I once knew for those 6 years. Tried to do everything in my power to stay behind. I knew that these events had to come into pass, which later I knew that it would be part of God's magnificent plan for me in my life. In a couple weeks, my family and I arrived to the United States. At that time, my family went to First Baptist Church in Augusta. I really loved to sing and worship my Lord. I enjoyed Sunday school, especially when it was movie week, because they had really great popcorn. While watching VeggieTales or Superbook or whatever they showed us. But I would never really pay attention in church. I would just draw and always sing songs of verses in the Bible. But now, as I have previously mentioned, I've always had questions back about what I learned in church in China. I've also had questions about what I heard in Sunday school and in the main service when I was ever listening. I heard about a place called hell, and I figured I did not want to go there, a place of torment, of screaming and gnashing of teeth. I did not want to go there when I die. I knew I was a sinner, that I was either going to one or two places, hell or heaven. So one Sunday after church, I went to my mom and I told her I didn't want to go to hell. I want to live eternally with the Lord in heaven. So we went to my room and we talked about our eternal destiny, my salvation, in a deeper perspective. And it was there that she led me to Christ and that I asked the Lord to come into my heart as my personal Lord and Savior. See, now I want to leave y'all with a final thought. Back then, I used to give up a lot. Around the time after I got saved, I went through way more surgeries. in Cincinnati, New York, and finally Charleston. When I woke up from my first surgery, I was unable to walk. I had stuff put in my, and I had to be in a wheelchair for half a year, doing extensive therapy while in the process. I doubted God's plan for my life, and my prayers weren't always genuine. I've only wanted the good things to happen to me in life, but then I had friends, family, I had First Baptist, and I had you, Lakeside, to encourage me to keep going every step that I take. Y'all told me that prayers aren't answered according to what I want, but according to what God deems best for me. I will never know what's ahead of me if I quit now, but I'm curious of what's ahead of me in my future. I want to continue running the race that has been set before me. I always thought that I was a mistake, but no, I'm not a mistake, regardless of what anyone says about me. God created me for a purpose. I may have not seen it back then, but I see it all now. Prophet Jeremiah said in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." If all these events in my life have never transpired, I would never have my surgeries. I probably would have been dead. I probably wouldn't have been where I am right now, serving the Lord and sharing with you what God has done in my life. But God had much bigger plans in my life, and He put these events into action for a purpose. For a purpose for His plan, and for me to grow closer to Him day by day by day. I'm really glad that God saved me from my sins, and I'm ready to serve anywhere that He leads. From the day I was saved to the day I breathe my last breath, or until the Lord comes back. There was a time in my life where I always used to ask myself this: if I never made the decision to follow Christ all these years ago, then why am I even here? Well, the answer is right here. God has a plan for me to live my testimony and to share His love with others. Through all the trials and hardships that I have faced these 17 years of my life, I can proudly proclaim that I am living proof that you should never stop running the race, to always continue in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of. So I'm going to run the race until the last minute. I've decided to fight on no matter what persecution I may face at school or on the job or out in public. I'm more than my story. I'm a child of God, and I'm proud of it.